So we are recording. Today's webinar is about our 2025 financial fitness checkup. The point of the checkup is really to just give you a tool, give you the means of being able to go ahead and see what's changed in your life. How does that affect you financially? What does that mean for you financially? So we're going to share a slide deck today. You should already have a copy of the 2025 financial fitness checkup. We have emailed it out. Some of you got it in the mail as well. We will put it in the chat. So just in case you didn't see that in your email, you'll be able to get a copy of it there as well. So housekeeping items, feel free to ask questions as we go. We will answer your questions live. What I mean by that is we'll go through the presentation, and then one of us will read off your question to everybody, and then we'll go ahead and answer your question. But so feel free to do that. You can do that through the Q&A or the chat function, either one. But with that, Matt Donahue, managing member, Mission Financial Planners, about 25 years of experience, certified financial planner, a whole bunch of credentials behind my name. My job in Mission Financial Planners is really to make sure that we're meeting as many people as we can. And that's why you'll see me host a lot of these webinars and stuff like that. Jason, you want to take a minute, just reintroduce yourself to everyone and some of the things you work on here at the team?
Sure. I'm Jason Defoe. I'm one of the managing members. My primary role at the firm is really advanced planning and financial planning. So making sure that our clients get all of the dots, all of the things working together. So the income plan, the investment plan, the tax plan, the estate plan, the insurance plan, that they're all humming and working together to produce the best outcome or the outcome that the client really wants.
Fantastic. Ken?
Howdy, everybody. I am the local San Antonio resident here at Mission Financial Planners. Proud time for me. It's rodeo, and it wouldn't be rodeo if it wasn't raining and gray out. In February, it's either perfect and sunny out, or it's cold, wet, and rainy, and we could use the water, so I'll take it. For the firm, I really enjoy the process of seeing households go from where we first meet them to a complete product and seeing that change over that time. And I really enjoy this workshop because I view it as your North Star. Navigators in the past, they didn't have a lot of ways to figure out north, south, east, or west, but they found that North Star and they kept moving towards it. And through these questions, it really helps reinvigorate and define what's most important to you. What has changed? Are we a little bit off course? And that's okay. But more importantly, what are some of the conversations we need to have? And so this is just a great icebreaker overall. But yeah, Matt, not to steal your thunder.
No, not at all, Ken. Not at all. Absolutely. And Ken has a huge, I wouldn't say aspirational, because it's a real goal. For those of you who really love Fiesta, Ken's goal, I'm just going to share it, Ken, is to someday be Ray Feo. And so for those of you who know Fiesta, you know what that means. I think it's an awesome goal, and I'm hopefully we'll be able to help him get there. So, okay. So a couple introductory things. Here's our disclosures. These are super exciting. This kind of recaps a little bit of what Ken was talking about as we get started here today, which is where are you now, right? And it's important to review your financial situation every year for a couple of reasons. One of which is pretty straightforward, and that is, wait a second, are you all still seeing just the front page?
No. Oh, yes, actually, we're just
Hold on, let me get back to it. There we go. Where are you now? Right? Perfect. Okay. So where are you now? And as I was saying, it's important to review what's going on in your life each year and what's changed, what hasn't changed. Sometimes that's just as important. But what's coming up in 25, and I would even add what's coming up in 26 and 27 that is important to you to make sure is addressed and worked into your financial plan. I just met with a couple this morning who at some point in the next year to two, they are going to retire. And so they are concerned now about getting everything in place so that they can do it. That's fantastic. So when you think about that, what you want for 25, it's not just 25, it's what's coming up in the near future as well. This checklist, and I've got a physical copy of it here, there you go, physical copy. This checklist has 9 different areas of your financial life. You'll see Ken, Jason, and I talk about different areas today. It's not just going to be me talking the whole time or one of the other guys talking the whole time. And part of that is because of our team approach here at Mission Financial Planners. I have deep expertises in certain areas of financial planning. So does Jason, so does Ken, and they are complementary. They are not exclusive, and we don't view it that way. So as we're talking about some of the different things on this checklist, you'll note that, hey, Ken's going to talk about some things. I'm going to talk about some things. Jason's going to talk about some things as well. Okay, so let's get financially fit. The checklist is a 4-page checklist. We sent it out front and back in a mailer that also had our 25 key data card. So you would have got that if you received it in the mail late January, early, maybe early this month, but probably late January. We have sent it out in email a bunch of times. We also hyperlinked it into the invites for this workshop that we sent out. But like I said, we will throw this in the chat as well. This is super easy to do. It's not like, and I was just whining to Jason about a bunch of paperwork I was doing, where it's like, you got to try to fit it in, right? You can literally just check yes. You know what the yes is. You don't have to do any additional details, right? And that's when you pick up the phone, you call Ken, Jason, or me and say, hey, you know what? I want to talk about this. The other thing I'd do too is, because we have sent it out in email so much, send it to your friends and family. And quite frankly, if they come back and ask you questions about it, send them our way. But at a minimum, it helps them get financially fit and it preps them for conversations they should be having for their own financial life as well. So feel free to share it. Feel free to share it. Okay, we're going to jump into it. So Ken is going to take the next couple slides here. The first one is going to talk about your family. Ken, what do you want to focus on when it comes to family conversations or family status changes that might be happening?
Yeah, and well, we'll start from the top. Do you expect any changes in your relationship status, marriage, cohabitation, or divorce? And this isn't just necessarily for you, but it might be people in your immediate family. God forbid, maybe one of you or somebody you know has a bad prognosis, and we don't know how things are going to change. Well, that alone will greatly change your tax implications for the rest of your life. So, what are some of the things that we need to be thinking about? Another popular one is, do you have a child or grandchild who's going to be going to college this year? We see this, Matt, probably at least once a year where we're talking, catching up with a household and their grandparents like, yep, so they know they can gift dollars to their grandchild. So they gifted them the $19,000. But the first thing we tell them is, please don't do that. The reason why is when you gift those dollars to that grandchild, guess what? It now needs to reflect on the FAFSA and the different college applications that they might be getting for financial aid. So if with that being said, the grandparent has the means to give directly from their IRA or other assets directly to the institution and not have to go through the parents or the grandchild, which would impact some of their financial needs assistance. So any one of these that might be a yes for you or somebody close to you, it's at least worth a conversation, because while you may have an idea, you may even have a solution on how to address this. I would challenge you, is it the best solution to address it? And again, we might have some ideas to help figure that out. So in regards to your goals, a lot has changed over the last 5 years. I'm remember vividly in like 2018, 2019, a lot of my retirees were just pretty ho-hum. They were comfortable and everything else. But since now that we're fully on the other side of COVID and everybody's a little bit more aware of their mortality, I see them going on larger vacations. I see them taking their family and such. And so what are some of the things that you would like to do, some of the boxes that you would like to check, and figuring out the best way to fund it? One thing to be thinking about is, how are you going to fund these goals? We've seen tremendous, my computer's freaking out a little bit. Am I still good?
You're good. You're good.
Okay. One of my monitors is okay. I'll keep going. So we've seen tremendous growth over the last 3 to 4 years, and with growth means increased capital gains. So which of your assets are we going to sell to pay for that renovation, to pay for that vacation, or to gift to your kids or grandkids. If you follow us on LinkedIn, you saw that myself and Matt and Jason, we were at a conference for our industry and learning, always leveling up. And there's this concept that is through direct indexing, which will help phase out some of your large capital gains that you've accumulated and minimize some of those things. So yes, you have these goals. How are we going to pay for them? What are the tax implications around it? And is there anything we can be doing to minimize some of those taxes? But again, we're happy to. The reason why you work with us is you have these things that you want to accomplish. We just want to make it as easy as possible and as tax efficient as possible. Anything you'd like to add, Matt?
No, it merges together, and hopefully that's what a lot of you are taking out of Ken's comments, right? Is what's changed in your family is going to directly affect your goals, and vice versa, right? So, good stuff, Ken. Ken, just a housekeeping item. You might want to double check the location of your mic. It sounds like it's bumping against like a button or something. So,
Roger.
got it. Thank you. All right, Jason. Jason is a certified exit planner. I'm gonna bump Jason up a little bit here. So he's going to hijack the next 45 minutes of the meeting on this one slide. That's a joke.
I certainly could.
I know you could, right? I totally know you could. But Jason, from a business planning perspective, what should people be thinking about?
I think for the business owners out there, Matt, there's a stat out there that says better than a third of the business owners plan to sell their business in the next 3 years. So think about that for a minute. The business owner population is bigger than the public market's population of businesses by far, by more than double. So the fact that a third of them are contemplating sale in that short period of time says a lot about the transition of businesses down the road in the future, as we talk about. So selling your business, what is all that involved in? Most people, if they've ever sold a business, it's only been once. It hasn't been multiple times. So they don't have the experience to go back to. But as we learned, going through the different trainings and business partners that we have, selling a business has a lot of intricacies to it. And one of those intricacies is, can you get your business in a position and have it be the best item out there to buy? And how do you do that? Most business owners are tied up in their business doing every day-to-day operations. They don't have time to observe the business from the outside and say, hey, what if I had a better continuity plan? What's a continuity plan, Jason? It's a plan that says, hey, if I'm not here to do it, how does it get done and who does it, basically?
So wait, Jason, are we doing a webinar later in February about that?
Yep, we're going to have a business succession and continuity planning webinar, which is going to be great because we get to get really in depth on that part of what that means. The other thing is about valuation with these businesses. We've plenty of times have we met business owners that have gotten, I'm going to call them unsolicited offers for their businesses that have been way under market for what that business is worth. And I'm thinking of an example right now, someone that had a store that was grossing $1.5 to $2 million of revenue a year, and they were getting an unsolicited offer of about $2 million, which when we actually took that through the valuation process, some of our partners that do the valuation process, the valuation should actually have been $4 million. So what would you do with another $2 million?
And unfortunately, Jason, what do a lot of people do when they get that unsolicited offer?
They usually take it, honestly, Matt,
Yeah.
just because they don't know any better and they're not getting proper counsel around, hey, is this a good thing or a bad thing? And they don't have objective counsel, right? And our end, we're objective. I'm not part of the sales side. I don't know the guy buying a business. I don't know the business broker from that end. None of that happens. We keep ourselves in an objective loop so we understand, hey, we're here for the client to make sure the client's best interest is at hand on everything that we do, which kind of points to retirement plans too. Some of these businesses aren't big enough to actually go out and sell, but with the proper retirement structure, they can build up their retirement nest egg over time. Can you think of any business owners you've met that have had challenges with saving for retirement because they don't know how?
So I'll tee this up as the classic example. you're running your business, you're treating your business like a cash flow piggy bank almost, and you're paying your bills every year, and your accountant's telling you, don't pay the Social Security payroll tax because you'll have to pay it twice. That'll keep your tax bill down. Well, if you operate on a cash flow basis only, Jason, what are some of the issues there? And then two, if you torpedo your Social Security benefit, what's the long-term implication of that?
Yeah, where's your retirement check coming from when you can't work anymore, right? Operate cash flow basis only. Don't save anything and don't use the other parts of the tax code that are beneficial to you to say you can amass savings. I mean, we had one client that we met and she was barely doing an SEP IRA, but she was in the wrong structure. When we changed her retirement structure, she went from saving $20,000 a year for retirement, which was going to take her a lifetime to retire, to saving over $100,000 a year for retirement, which made her ability to approach retirement a lot quicker.
So it was it kind of like the unsolicited offer situation. I mean, she's an expert at, and I think I know who you're talking about. She's an expert at her business. She knows what she's doing. This is not a, you know, this is someone who's running a business and running it really well. She's got a great head on her shoulders, right? But does she know the tax code? Does she know all the different retirement plan options and which one will best fit her business so she can take full advantage of the tax code without breaking the rules? Right? I mean, that's what you're trying to do, right, Jason?
Exactly. You're trying to take advantage of the opportunities that are there. They put them in the rule book for a reason. They want you to use them when they're applicable. They just don't know if they're applicable or not. And unfortunately, if you've ever actually known a CPA in real life or tax preparer, they have a lot of clients that they manage, 500 different clients. And when they're in tax season, they are in blitzkrieg mode. They have so much stuff piling up on their back. They do not have time to do full-blown analysis and say, this is what you should be doing. And some of them don't want to do it.
Right. And unfortunately, we see that a lot. So okay, thanks, Jason. So that all kind of then jumps into, or kind of leads us then into health and some of the health planning that you need to do, whether you're a business owner or someone who works for someone else. From my experience, you know, and I'll promote some of my credentials here. I'm chartered life underwriter, certified in long-term care planning. I was actually published this quarter in the long-term care quarterly publication that comes out. And folks, I'd say the biggest issue with your health, it's not that you're going to get sick, because we all are. It's not that you're ultimately going to die, because we all are. It's how it affects the people who love you. That's what you're planning for with a healthcare plan. And when a lot of people start thinking about healthcare, just like Jason was talking about with the tax code, they don't know how it all fits together. They don't know, hey, Medicare Part A, Part B, Part D versus a Medicare Advantage plan. Do I need a Medicare supplement? Hint, you do. Do I need a long-term care plan of some kind? Yes, you do. It's a question of, what is the plan? Has the plan been communicated? Do the people that you're expecting to take care of you know that you are expecting them to take care of you? And these are the questions when you think about health, when you think about your healthcare costs, when you think about Medicare, when you think about long-term care planning, when you start putting all this stuff together, suddenly it starts to become very real. And what you're wondering about is, well, wait a second, I am retiring in 2 years. I've never even thought about long-term care before, but my mother is seriously ill and I've been helping her for the last 3 years. Okay, let's have a conversation, right? And what I'll stress with the healthcare planning, just like a lot of the other stuff you'll hear Ken and Jason talk about, it's all about the plan, and the plan is ultimately dictated by you. What do you want to have happen? Do you want your kids taking care of you at some point? That's okay if you do. The key is, have you talked to them about that so they know that's your expectation? Most people haven't. Have you put together a plan of some kind? And do the key people who will supervise your care, very different from providing your care, do they know the planning that you've done? Ken's got a great story. It's not a great story, it's a terrible story about a client who had purchased long-term care from him, And the client's son got a hold of Ken 6 months after a health incident happened. They'd been paying out of pocket for his long-term care costs. They didn't even know he had a policy. The only reason they found out, actually, Ken, I think you called the client, couldn't get a hold of the client, so then you called his trusted point of contact, which happened to be his son, and that's how they found out, right? So the importance, especially with healthcare planning, of communicating what you want to have happen, I can't stress that enough. And I'll just say, there's no right answer. It's the answer you want to see happen. That's what counts. Okay, Ken, money, money,
Yeah,
money, money, right?
it's what we're about.
All right.
No. So yeah, I mean, you turn on the news every single day. There's this new boogeyman coming after your money, and whether it's investments going up, investments going down, inflation, taxes, you might have some questions or concerns about it. But if you do have some specific ones, or just let's talk about it. And even if we talked about it back in December, that's why we're here. It's okay to use us as your resource to go through deep into the weeds, talk through it, and understand it. Um, so one of the common things that we're hearing in regards to clients' investments is they're either looking at refinancing their mortgage to stretch it out further to minimize their payments, or they're contemplating, Ken, hey, we're down to just a couple of 100,000 and we have a lot of equity in our house. I'm getting a little itchy. Is there a way we can find a way to just pay it off? Well, the answer is yeah. There's a lot of interesting strategies depending on what you're wanting and needing, uh, either through items like a home equity line of credit, even a reverse home equity line of credit, where you can effectively pay off your house and never pay another dollar towards it. Um, Really fascinating way to minimize some of your expenses in retirement while also protecting yourself. I don't think it's talked about enough as they're going into retirement. They probably should be opening a home equity line of credit anyway on their homestead, just as an additional cash flow resource. Not saying that they should dip into it in year one or year five or year 10, but having it open is a tool that can help battle some of these things, whether it's inflation or taking out some other debt that may have been completed. Um, let's talk about it. And again, if any of these concern resonates with you or any of these thoughts, or you know of somebody that's pulling on your shirt saying, "Hey, what are your thoughts of what's going to happen?" Um, the tariffs were supposed to start last Tuesday. Was it this Tuesday? Last Tuesday.
Last Tuesday.
Okay, it's
Yeah,
been
it's time's flying.
yeah, it's been pushed back 30 days. If and when they ever get put into place, I think one thing everybody has expected is there is going to be short-term volatility. Do we have a plan of where your dollar is going to come from for the next 6 months, for the next year? Again, let's talk about it.
Great, thanks, Ken. All right, Jason. Estate planning. I think all three of us could talk about this for like 2 or 3 hours. But Jason, what do people really need to focus on when it comes to an estate plan?
I mean, it's tackling the basics first, right? A, do you have the estate plan in place? And how concerned are you, or should you be concerned about if you're going to go through probate or not, right? Which probate is just a court system that helps people that don't typically have an estate plan or just have a will understand where and communicate where system their money is going to go. If you don't have a will, then the good news is the state of Texas has one for you. The bad news is you may not like what it says it wants to do with the money from that end. So everyone's different with what they want their money to be left behind for or to from that end. So the important parts with this is really, A, make sure you have your basic documents in place, your wills, your trust, your powers of attorneys, your medical directives, your financial powers of attorney, because that is the living death, not having financial powers of attorney, meaning you cannot pull a trigger to make the financial decisions like you used to, and you have not designated anyone to do that. So when that happens, someone has to go to court and take that duty. Who's it going to be in your family that's going to do that? Maybe a
Hey,
most responsible child.
Jason, can I ask you a question about that? Is it always a good idea to have a family member do that?
Not always. All family members are different.
Mm-hmm.
And we've known this from talking to our clients. Some family members are good with money, some family members are not good with money from that end. Some family members are tied up with the busyness of their own life, let alone having to try to do your life too at the same time, which can be overwhelming for most people from that end. So no, it's not always. A lot of times people will have if they're designing their documents correctly, they'll actually have a trustee that's independent that can do that work, that can say, okay, I can do that. I can pay the bills. I can make sure the taxes on the property get paid. I can make sure all these things get done so you don't have all these negative liabilities piling up on you.
So, Jason, you want to share with everyone what I was just complaining about in your office before we started the webinar?
Yeah,
Go ahead. Just go
exactly.
ahead and share. Feel free.
So yeah, part of the challenge with this work is the after work. So it's not just creating the documents. Matt did a great job creating the documents many years ago.
And this is
And
for my own personal stuff, guys. This isn't a client we're talking about here. So sorry,
yeah,
Jason. I didn't mean to
no,
interrupt.
that's all
I didn't mean to
right.
interrupt.
So creating his own documents, following, eating his own cooking, as they would say from that end. And some of the challenges with that is the paperwork process that's afterwards. Like spending 3 hours is what Matt did on a Sunday, which is couldn't think of a better thing to do than this with 3 hours on a Sunday, was filling out paperwork for how to get insurance policies reorganized into his trust. So only 3 hours of paperwork for that one item. Now that isn't all of Matt's financial life that has to go into that trust. So how long will it take? Who knows?
Yeah. Great way to spend the Super Bowl. Thanks, Jason. Ken, getting into retirement. I know we talk a lot about this with people. Hey, I'm coming up on it, or I'm just into it. What are some of the big like hurdles people are dealing with when they're right at that point where retirement, I'll just say it this way, where retirement is real. It's no longer an abstract concept, like it's happening. What are people challenged with usually?
It's like it's April 14th of your tax season, and you're needing to get all your documents, and you just realize, and you're trying to get it out the door. Except it's not 1 year's worth of tax documents, it's a lifetime of all your different investment accounts, of all these different things that you have, and trying to figure out how they fit together, and fill out these forms, and everything else. It's a lot. And so the sooner you can get your feet on the ground, and go through it, the easier and better it is. Um, we're helping this household be onboarded right now, and they've lived a full career. So each one of them had a different organization for between 10 and 15 years, for three different times, three different periods, and still currently working. And there's seven different retirement accounts amongst the two of them. And that's good. That's okay. These dollars are there and they have been growing. But you may or may not know that within your 401ks and 403bs is that there are limited investment options that are there. And so had we been able to have this discussion sooner, or they had talked with a professional that would have opened their eyes to it, their performance could have been substantially greater over the last 10, 15, 20 years, as opposed to the investment options within that 401k. So again, I see the list of people on the call, and a lot of y'all are February 15th filers, so y'all are probably on it. But you can imagine there are, and that there's a lot of April 15th filers out there. Retirement is just getting your feet under you one step at a time and working towards it. But be thinking about, where do you have any leftover retirement accounts? Are you planning on moving any money from one account to the other? If with a Secure Act, or was it the TCJA? I don't know, one of the most recent tax reforms, if you're between 60 and 63 years old, there's a super catch up provision that you're able to take advantage of. That may or may not apply to you, but does it apply to one of your friends, your neighbors? Are they taking advantage of them? And the other part is thinking about the future RMDs that are coming up. The 401ks have now allowed Roth contributions as well as Roth conversions within the plan. Might make sense, might make not, but it's worth exploring.
Thanks, Ken.
Next slide. Yep. So
what's next?
What is next is,
right?
Do you need help getting financially organized? Back to my point with the short-term volatility that's expected. Can you go 6 months without dipping into a single retirement account or one of your long-term investments? Uh, are you expecting any major life changes like moving, actually retiring, selling property, or again, very large expenses? Um, a lot of people on the call, we already have a game plan for when we're filing Social Security. Big plug. This may not have impacted you, but do you know of any educators, firefighters, or police officers that have already retired? Because there was a recent reform to Social Security that got rid of some of the penalties that some of our civil servants were dealing with around Social Security. This is added at minimum $500, upwards to $3,000 a month into some of these households that we've discussed. So while you may have your Social Security plan because you're already working with us, and that's where a lot of us start, you may know of some people that don't have a Social Security plan or may be unaware of some of these new tools and features and opportunities. Um, and then again, your future. If you're feeling stressed, let's talk about it. There's every time we come forward with a recommendation, there's two to three others that work just as well, but might fit a little bit better, which might help reduce some of that stress you have. Let's talk. And then if you have a bucket list, let's start checking those items off. Uh, we only have today. We're not guaranteed tomorrow. So let's make hay while the sun is shining. Anything else, Matt?
So Ken, when we're thinking about the future, this it feels like an opportune moment. Can you describe just, like who the ideal person is that we really enjoy working with? Can you just take a minute and just say, here's how they view today, but here's also they view tomorrow, and here's how they view when they're gone, right? Could you take just a minute and talk about that?
Well, again, I'm looking at the attendee list. Most of you can just go hold up a mirror, and I'll be chatting about y'all. But it's those that one uh, have they did the work, right, and they learned, and they were informed, and they did their best. But they also know that there's a ceiling uh, of what they're able to accomplish or do, and they're looking for that coach. They're looking for the additional resources, that out of the box thinking that can truly elevate of what's possible within their overall plan. Sometimes it's giving as much money to their kids and grandkids or charities of their choice. For others, it's taking their income from 15,000 a month to 20,000 a month. They don't believe it's possible, but they or at least they think it's possible. They just don't know how to bridge that gap confidently. But with myself, my team, our resources, if it is possible, we can help find a way to make it a reality. Um, in less words, Matt, it's quite simply somebody that wants more and wants help doing it.
Great. Thanks, Ken. All right. In the home stretch here. So reviewing everything we talked about, we threw a ton of stuff at y'all in about 35 minutes. Okay. So the highlights, and I think this slide does a great job of talking about it or asking about it. What changed last year? Doesn't matter what it is. What changed that is impacting you? And folks, we've heard it all over the years. Literally, I've been with the same guy for 25 years. We live together. We've lived together 23 of the last 25 years, but we have never gotten married. What do you mean I'm not going to get a Social Security check when he dies, assuming he dies before me? Yeah, that's exactly what's going to happen if you're not legally married per federal guidelines, right? That's just one little example, right? Like, oh my gosh, maybe we need to get married so I can make sure I've got financial security later on. But it could be other things too. Maybe you had a windfall of some kind. Maybe you, like Jason was talking about, maybe you sold a business, right? There's all these different things that can happen during the course of the year. Most of them are positive, but we also have to keep in mind, hey, some negative stuff can happen too. Maybe I became the primary caregiver for one of my parents or a sibling or a child, right? Maybe my spouse passed away and I'm not sure what that's going to mean for me going forward. I mean, we have to address those changes as well. In terms of what you want to discuss in 25, it is about what you want to discuss in 25. Our job is to be the trusted advisor who can give you unbiased advice. And that's our job. And so when you come to us and say, hey, you know what, I really want to talk about this, don't worry at all about, I don't really know if I should talk to those guys about this stuff, right? If you want to talk about it, just say so. Just say so. Um, how have goals changed? Things happen in our lives all the time that changes our perspective. I think we were all changed by COVID 5, 6 years ago, right? Like I can promise you, Ken and I and Jason, we're not doing Zoom webinars for clients and prospects at noon Central Time on a Tuesday prior to COVID. It just wasn't happening, right? And what's cool to see too is we've got people on the call today from California, from Texas. We've even got someone from New York on the call, so we're well represented today, right? But that's the thing is change is not always a bad thing. What we can control, and you'll hear me talk about this a lot in our weekly updates that we send out, the only thing you can control is how you react to the change. And that's the value of planning. If your goals change, okay, what do we need to do? And then if there is a big, you know, pressing issue that needs to be addressed, what is it? Right? What is it? Let's make sure we talk about it. So what we're going to do, next steps, if you did not get a copy of this, Ken, do you think you could grab a PDF and throw it in the chat for me while I'm ramping up here? Okay, we'll throw a copy of it in the chat just so everybody has it. So, we've got a couple people on the call, and I won't call anybody out specifically, but you're going to hear from either me, Ken, or Jason right after the call. And it's just a follow up, see if anything was top of mind. But if you do want to reach out to us, just go to our website, missionfinancialplanners.com, go to the contact us page, and that'll take you right to our calendars, But here's the toll free number. Jason, you want to give a quick shout out on your direct number and your email real quick?
Yep. My direct number is the 726-727-6583. And my email is just my first name, last name at mfplanners.com. So JDUFFAUT@mfplanners.com.
Great. Ken?
Kenneth Hamilton, 726-727-6582, 726-727-6582, K Hamilton at MF Planners. And I did share it at the nick of time, but I didn't share it to everyone. So let me go ahead and do that one more time.
I did the same thing. I was throwing the phone numbers in the chat.
There it is.
Here we go. 582. And you can see I'm just using first initials or initials for us.
Yeah, and those numbers you can text, you can call, and happy to chat.
All right. Doesn't look like we have any questions in the chat. So again, thank you everyone for choosing to make the time to be with us today. Hopefully this was informative. Hopefully it gave you some things to think about. If you do have any questions, again, feel free to reach out to us directly. But otherwise, have a great rest of your week, and we will see you in March, where we're going to be running Ken mentioned it earlier, we're going to be running a webinar on the Secure Act and how that changed the retirement planning landscape for a lot of people. So stay tuned. You'll get some email invitations to that event as we get closer to the event. But Jason, do you want to give a shameless plug for our business planning webinar we're doing on the 26th?
Yeah, it's going to be great. A business succession and planning webinar that we're doing. Covering everything from buy-sell, continuity planning, the triggers to increasing valuation of the business. There's a nice window that's available for business owners if they're willing to plan, where they can have a 1 to 3 year window to increase that value of that business and really get a significant uplift from what they were going to get if they just ran at it cold turkey.
So planning again, right?
It's all about planning.
Perfect. Well, everyone, thank you so much again for your time. For those of you interested, if you know a business owner, you are a business owner, feel free. We'll send out a couple invites for that webinar on the 26th. But otherwise, thank you so much for your time, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
Take care.